is now called to order. And certainly before proceeding, I wanted to let you guys know my apologies for being a little late. IT had some other plans for us. Hopefully everybody made it safely and the weather didn't impair your arrival, and hopefully those that aren't here get here soon. And I'm saying that so I can get Supervisor Salim to give me the $200 he was offering my peers to give me some friction over being late. So I'll be happy to collect from him after the meeting. Carol, would you please call the roll?
I'm not Carol, but I will call it. Mr. Drew Brown,
Here.
Mr. Barry Busada, Mr. Steve Davison, Mr. Lee Jackson,
Here.
Dr. Joe Leatherman, Mr. Keith Myers,
Here.
Dr. John Noble, Mr. Al Perkins, Mr. Dana Peterson,
Present.
Miss Elizabeth Pierre, Mr. Mark Romero,
Here.
Miss Christine Russell, Mr. Robert Saline,
Here.
Mr. Joe Salter,
Here.
Mr. Brad Stevens,
Here.
Ms. Julie Stokes.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Dr. Kale. At this time, I'd ask that Mr. Salter please lead us in the invocation, and after that, remain standing. We'll have the pledge.
Father, we thank you for the opportunity we have to come today to meet. Lord, we ask that you guide and direct us as board members to help us to make wise decisions, Lord. We thank you for the men and women that serve the students here in this system. We ask that you continue to guide and direct them and bless them. We thank you as well, Lord, for our staff here and President Gallo. We ask that you would provide them with leadership, and we ask, Lord, that you would forgive us for the ways that we've sinned against you. And Lord, we have so many things for which we need to be thankful, and we thank you for those things, Lord. And we would ask that you would forgive us for the ways that we've sinned against you. For Christ's sake, amen.
Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's another acknowledgement, Dr. Wainwright's leadership and his team at Southeastern for getting us started saying the pledge. Before us, we have the minutes from our February 27th meeting, as well as ratification of actions taken in the March 28th Executive Committee meeting. All of you have those minutes if you've reviewed. If I could have a motion, a second to approve the same. Moved by Supervisor Saline, second by Supervisor Jackson. Any discussion? All in favor?
Okay.
Opposed? Motion passes. Since the actions of the Executive Committee approved the selection of an acting president for the University of Louisiana at Monroe, we want to welcome Dr. Bruno and thank him for returning and welcome to be on board. Dr. Bruno, if you would like to make a few comments at this time. Good morning, Mr.
Good
President.
morning, members of the board. I'm Nick Bruno. I'm a former president and now an acting president at UL Monroe. I appreciate the opportunity and challenge that has been presented to me, and will certainly do my best to pass the baton to the incoming president once you have named that individual. It's been an interesting 3 weeks. A lot of surprises and a lot of course, good things at the university, as we have at all of our universities. It's been I'm gonna say a period of exploration and assessment. And I'm happy to say that the management team at ULM has worked very hard to bring me up to date and to get the data needed that I can provide information to you when at certain times during this period of time that I'm there. I think some is surprising, some not so. And we'll just continue to work and be happy to provide any data that you would ask at any time. But of course, our major goal is to, of course, assure you and the citizens and our students that the university will continue upon its mission and come out of this temporary challenge, we hope, stronger and regain our position as one of your universities that you're proud of. So, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Bruno. We certainly appreciate you taking the call and accepting the charge. We know we're in good hands. I believe this is going to provide a quite model transition of leadership. And again, we know that, you know, once we have a new president, he's going to have a great sense of support, and it'll be like he's walking into an audited institution. So
Well, I hope so. That's the plan.
thank you, and
Thank
please let us know if we can do anything for you. Couple of things before we proceed with the committee meetings. I wanted to allow a few minutes for Supervisor Brown to take personal privilege. No, you can do it now. We may have to leave then.
Well, good morning, everybody. Just in the few minutes that I have, today is my last board meeting as a student board member. It's been the absolute privilege of a lifetime. I was elected in May of last year in 2024. And it's been nothing short of a busy year. I've visited all 9 institutions. I've met all 9 presidents. I've met all 9 student body presidents at least 5 times during this term. Put 26,000 miles on my car over the past year. So I like to say that I have the largest electoral map besides a United States senator or the governor of Louisiana. So it's been nothing short of a blessing. I've got a lot of people to thank, probably a few people watching back home right now. The first thank you absolutely goes out to my mother. For a lot of you who don't know my story, I grew up in a little small town called Longville, Louisiana. We're in the weird part of the state, so we're not south, we're not north, and we're not central Louisiana. We're kind of just there. When I was 8, my father passed away, and my mom raised me and my brother as a single mother for almost 2 years before she met my stepdad. So it's a little bit of a heart-lifting story that a kid from nowhere, Louisiana, whose father passed away on April 1st, 2011, could one day sit and represent 85,000 students in the state. It was something I never believed possible. I doubted if I would even come to college when I was 18 years old. It was my father's dream that me and my brother both attained a higher education and aspire to be better than the opportunities that he had. And my mom certainly pushed that. So the first thank you certainly goes out to my mother, Brenda Slover, and my stepfather, Wesley Slover. And the second thank you, of course, goes out to both of my vice presidents back home. The unfortunate reality of being a board member as a student is you're gone a lot from home. There was not a single week during this entire term that I was not traveling at least one day of the week. So Leanne, who was my student body vice president, was the rock that really held my team together. She had signing authority on my behalf. She paid the bills when I was gone. She took the meetings when I was gone. And also for y'all who don't know, I'm a fraternity president, which is by far the most stressful part of my life. So Jack Span, wherever he's at, he's in Gulf Tours right now. So he's probably not watching this, but I owe a lot to Span too for holding together the 100 guys who can be a pain in the butt. And the last thank you, of course, goes out to all my mentors from McNeese, Dr. Wade Roos, Dr. Kedrick Nicholas, Dr. Michael Buckles, Miss April should be here maybe. And Heath's back home somewhere. Of course, Chairman Romero and President Gallo, thank you for your leadership of the board and for getting me acclimated so fast and for always making me feel like my voice was important. And to all the system staff is by far the warriors of the UL system. They're the people who don't get to sit up on the dais. They're the people that don't get to be put on the video. They don't get to sign the documents, but this system would not be what it is without the staff that we have, and I am 100% okay with saying that we have the greatest system staff of all the systems in Louisiana. So thank you to all the hardworking people who work up on the 8th floor and make everything that we do is possible. And thank you for the honor and the trust that you've put in me, and God bless you all.
So Supervisor Brown, not so soon, we'll have you back in May. We have one special responsibility we hope you are here to help us complete. And thank you so much for the class, the intellect, the leadership you provided, and how you've been an undying support for our students, which I think are the most important reason for us today. And one other item I'd like to take out of order, it's on the board chair's report. Do I have any objection? It's a policy where we're affirming testimony cards and making some changes to align with a method that has been adopted by the legislature that bring us to be consistent. The UL staff has updated the board's PPM regarding comments and testimony offered to the board during the meetings. The revised PPM is contained within your packet for review, along with, it's under item L, along with a sample revised comment card required for those in the public to comment prior to testifying. The policy aligns the comments made by the public, system, and institutional personnel to be consistent with the requirements, affirming the truthfulness of statements made before the board. System personnel and counsel are available to answer any questions you may have, and they certainly played a huge role in putting together the information provided. I want to thank Dr. Jones for his involvement, and certainly the DeQueer firm for their work to provide this to us. So actually, as this is a PPM, no board vote is necessary, but I did want to make you aware of it, highlight it at the onset of our meeting today. Since we'll be meeting as a committee of the whole, we'll need a motion and a second to conduct the business in this manner today. Moved by Supervisor Stevens, second by Supervisor Davison. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Ms. Pierre, if you would please address the items under the Academic and Student Affairs Committee.
Good morning. We have 3 items on the Academic and Student Affairs Committee agenda today. Dr. Janine O'Rourke, Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs, will provide the report. Dr. O'Rourke.
Good morning, Supervisor Pierre, Chair Romero, President Gallo, and members of the board. I will go over all 3 items for you this morning, and all of them are from Grambling State University. Agenda item D1 is a request to award an honorary doctorate of humane letters to Miss Alana Ward Robinson. Miss Robinson is an alumna of Grambling State and is a transformative technology executive with extensive experience in leveraging emerging technologies to support changing business models. Grambling would like to recognize Miss Robinson's outstanding contribution to her field and bestow an honorary doctorate to her during their spring 2025 commencement exercises. D2 is a request to offer a Bachelor of Science in Public Health. The proposed degree is a comprehensive program which focuses on protection of the public's health through equitable initiatives that emphasize disease prevention and health promotion for all populations. And D3 is a request to offer a Master of Science in Sustainability. At this time, I would like to ask President Lamel, Provost Connie Walton, and Dr. Hill to join me at the testimony table to provide a brief presentation on this very unique and relevant program.
Well, good morning, everyone. It brings me great pride and joy to have Grambling State University be the center of the Academic and Student Affairs Committee today as we continue to push excellence and the standard of accountability and productivity. Today, we will briefly describe our new program, our first STEM master's degree, a Master of Science in Sustainability, and I will turn it over to Provost Walton and our team to share more information.
Share some of the highlights of this degree program. Because usually Dr. Dagny Hill is the department chair for biological science. Morning. We're very excited about our proposed program. As President Vanel said, this program is the first STEM graduate youth program at McNeese State University. The proposed program in sustainability is a career program. And what it will do is build on the strength of the Master of Public Administration degree program at Atlanta, as well as combining it with the student graduate degree programs to strengthen the skill of Monroe program. The program has the ability to prepare our graduates to address challenges that are related to weather events, biodiversity loss, and limitations that are related to industry. The program will be hybrid. The program is designed to have three concentrations: concentration in water and air quality, a concentration in buildings, and another concentration in sustainable community. According to the National Center for Oatmeal, it is predicted that there will be an 8% increase in sustainability, especially that will be needed for the period of time between 2021 to 2031. Data from the state of Louisiana also indicates a projected growth as well. This projected growth is estimated to be approximately 21%. As we look at some of the careers of the sustainability, especially some of the careers that our proposed graduates will have will be waste management specialists, sustainable construction managers, urban and regional planners, green building certifiers, industrial ecologists, and industry technology. With this proposed program, it aligns not only with Grambling State University's goals for the mission, it also aligns with the master plan for higher education as well. The proposed program will prepare our students to be able to compete and succeed in careers related to sustainability. It will prepare them also to be able to contribute to the advancement of knowledge. And with the program, our students, our graduates will be improving the quality of life and as well. The proposed program will allow us to be able to increase the educational attainment of more at the master's degree level at Grambling State University. And within the program itself, it is infused with stackable credentials that our students will be able to obtain. Grambling State University has been designated as Board of Regents Center of Academic Excellence and Mathematical Achievement in Science and Technology. This proposed program supports Grambling State University is also designated as a regional university and also is designated as a third direct college and university. And of course, the program supports all of this. Developing the curriculum, we have two individual biological sciences, engineering technology. We have Dr. Thomas here with us, and we have the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, Dr. Stacy Green. So when you look at the curriculum, we were getting ready to put it together. We wanted to make sure that it was a curriculum that would address all the needs that we were hoping that our graduates would be able to meet. So we utilize experts in sustainability for teaching, a university that includes Arizona State University, Harvard University, Appalachian State University, and Southern Methodist University. We have a set of core courses that total 21 credit hours that all students will take regardless of the concentration they're following. The students will have the option to follow a thesis option or non-thesis option. Those students who follow the non-thesis option must work in the field and complete an internship experience, and they will write a detailed paper, so they won't get away with not writing anything because they have selected a non-thesis. They will still be required to write and discuss their experience. Enrollment projection, if you look at your the proposal, you'll see for year one, we projected that we would get 30 students. Year two into reach 36, year 4, 40. Now, this is a conservative estimate. We are expecting that we're going to have a lot more students than this. We did a review of our infrastructure to make sure that we had everything in place to support this program. We leveraged Title III funds to ensure that our spaces have been renovated. We have adequate equipment. We will be utilizing existing faculty in public administration, biological sciences, engineering, technology, data analytics, and chemistry to support this program. The first year of the program, we will hire one new faculty member. This faculty member is Mrs. Joyce Stubblefield. Mrs. Stubblefield actually provided a lot of input in designing this program. She worked for about 30 years with the EPA. She has a master's degree in sustainability and is a doctoral candidate to earn the PhD in sustainability from a university in the Netherlands. The second year, we're hiring additional faculty member, and this person will support the green building concentration. So when you look at the budget that's in the proposal, we indicated the expenses, and then we looked at the revenue that will be brought in, and we looked at the categories. Students that are enrolled in the program, so tuition and fees, as well as grants and contracts that we expect that we will receive as a result of having this program. And so this program is going to be sustainable. The revenue that we bring in will sustain this program. And so we will be glad to entertain any questions that you may have.
Let me just commend you all for bringing this this program proposal forward, and I think it fits very very nicely in the pronouncement that just came out of the White House in terms of the role, scope, and mission of HBCUs, and I think this it fits very well in that. And another side note, Dr. Hill, I still have my I Love Biology pen. Don't get to wear it very often, but I do still have it. But thank you all for bringing this forward.
Supervisor Pierre, I would like to publicly acknowledge and recognize the institution for working on this proposal. As you can imagine, there's a lot of backdoor work that goes on before a proposal is presented to the board for consideration. Under Dr. Walton's leadership, you all have been working on this for a year and a half-ish or so. And so what has been designed is certainly going to meet the needs of the state and beyond. So thank you all for all the hard work and for providing the presentation this morning. And with that, that concludes the agenda for academic and student affairs.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. O'Rourke, and thank you, Grambling State. That was a very thorough presentation. If no one requires further clarification, I would like to recommend approval of items D1 through D3. May I have a motion and a second? Moved by Mr. Davison. Second by Mr. Salim. Are there any comments or questions from the board? Any comments from the public? Hearing done, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Any opposed, nay? Okay, thank you. That motion is approved. Is there any other business to come before the committee at this time? If not, the next item, I believe, is athletics.
Dr. Noble will address items under the athletic committee agenda for today.
We have 12 action items on the athletic committee agenda. An informational item under other business. Mr. Bruciane, Executive Director for Compliance and Risk Management, will provide the report. Mr. Yane.
Thank you so much, Dr. Noble. We have the following consent items, and campuses are requesting approval of the following contract amendments. From Louisiana Tech, item E1 through E2, Ryan Hicks, assistant volleyball coach, and assistant football coaches Luke Olson, Paul Randolph, and Nathan Young. From McNeese, items E3 to E4, Bill Armstrong, head men's basketball coach, and Ayla Gazzardo, head women's basketball coach. From Northwestern, E5, Anna Nent, head women's basketball coach. From Southeastern, E6 through E8, Jeff Dow, head women's basketball coach, Lee McBride, head women's volleyball coach, and the following assistant coaches: Antonio Baker, Billy Diotovo, Ross Jenkins, Dustin Landry, Trey Nunez, Tom Rinaldi, Anthony Selfo, Alvin Slaughter, and Trey Willie. University of Louisiana at Lafayette is bringing the following contracts. E9 through E10, James Delgado, assistant football coach, defensive coordinator, and Quantas White, head men's basketball coach. And finally, University of Louisiana at Monroe, items E11 through E12, Molly Fitchner, head women's softball coach, and Reed Gann, head women's softball coach. Head women's volleyball coach. And those are all the items I have. That's for his consent, Dr. Noble.
Thank you for the presentation. If no one requires further clarification, I would like to recommend approval of items E1 through E12. May I have a motion and a second?
Second.
Move Supervisor Brown, second Supervisor Stokes. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Any comments from the public? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is approved. Other business, Mr. Yane.
Thank you, Dr. Noble. We have one item for other business. The state of Louisiana amended Louisiana Revised Statute 173703 in the 2024 regular session that allows intercollegiate athletics enrolled in a state post-secondary education to benefit from the use of their name, image, and likeness in ways that are consistent with recommendations issued by the NC2A. So accordingly, the current PPM that we had has been changed to follow the statute, and modification of this PPM does not require a vote. Just wanted to bring it to the board's attention.
Is there any other business to come before this committee at this time? The next items to be considered are audit.
Thank you, Dr. Noble. Mr. Peterson will chair the audit committee at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. We have 3 items on the audit agenda, committee agenda today. 2 are discussion items, report only, and 1 is a consent agenda item. Mr. Bruce Janay and Mr. Marcus Jones both will provide the report and walk us through things.
Thank you so much, Supervisor Peterson. Item F1, University of Louisiana System Report on Internal and External Audit Activity for the period of February 17th to April 7th, 2025. The listing of internal and external audits reports completed by various auditors since the last board meeting have been made available in our onboard. Also included in that summary are internal audits that are currently in progress and a follow-up timetable to ensure that recommendations made in prior reports are implemented. This is a report only, and no action by the board is necessary. And then on item F2, discussion of University of Louisiana at Lafayette's legislative auditor management letter issued March 26, 2025. At this time, we invite President Savoy and Mr. Jerry Luc LeBlanc to the table.
Morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Mr. LeBlanc and a couple of others are delayed because of the rain, but they'll get here at some point. I want to thank you for inviting us to report on the findings of the legislative audit report, though this is not a very comfortable position to be in, and I don't wish to repeat it, but you deserve a fuller explanation of the audit findings. The university has experienced some significant growth and research activity over the last decade. We manage our grants and contracts through the Office of Sponsored Programs, Finance, Administration, and Compliance, or SPFAC. SPFAC manages about 400 active grants each year with a value of nearly $200 million. Now, while we continue to grow our research enterprise, since COVID, we've been experiencing challenges and growing pains with SPFAC, primarily with personnel in terms of turnover, experience, and numbers. And this is the primary driver behind the items noted in the legislative audit report. But let me say from the offset that none of these findings in the audit report were due to any misappropriation, malfeasance, or misconduct. In fact, The audit report flagged the university for non-compliance, primarily of its own internal timing and reporting standards, which are more stringent than those of our funders. The legislative auditor reviewed the work of SPFAC through 4 lenses or categories: billing related to grant and contract agreements, personnel expenses charged to federal awards, recipient monitoring requirements, and period of performance requirements. Now, each of these categories has multiple sub-elements. I want to clarify some of the language in the report, which referred to consecutive year findings, which certainly got my attention. The current findings, while in the same category of previous findings, represent new and different sub-elements, not persistent problems. For example, this year's report stated that we were in non-compliance with subrecipient monitoring requirements, one of the 4 categories. It said the same thing last year, but last year the focus was on completion of subrecipient award documents within the monitoring requirements. This year, the focus was on completion of risk assessment within the monitoring requirement. These are 2 different things and 2 different findings, but they're in the same category of recipient monitoring requirements. Thus, the audit report reports them as consecutive year findings, even though we had cleared up the previous year's findings. This distinction is important because it demonstrates that we had responded to the previous year findings. So in summation, the majority of the noted findings were against our own internal reporting standards, which are more stringent than those of our funders. Similar, but not the same findings that are categorized as consecutive year findings, and growing pains, including staffing challenges, need to be addressed. Nonetheless, the audit report correctly points out areas that need attention, and we're using the report to inform improvements of our processes and hopefully mitigate future issues. We will do better. Our provost, Dr. Hebert, can provide some additional information about those plans briefly. Dr. Hebert.
If you don't mind, Dr. Sabo, just a question. I understand that Mr. LeBlanc is late because of the rain. Jamie, are you involved on or leading the finance side of the department? Does that roll up to you?
No, I am not. I'm not over the finance side of that. But we operate as a.
Yeah, I understand, and our system does as well, and I think that's the model in all of our campuses, but this is a concentrated finance concern, and it's an indication of a weakness in controls that support, I think, the long-term success and viability of the university from the standpoint of growth. I can appreciate this, but in the absence of good controls, growth is not going to be as effective as it would be should you follow the policies you established and imposed on your own team. I had a very good conversation with Dr. Salva and appreciate his ownership of the concerns here, but I think we need information from the CFO. And I'm frankly a little disappointed that he's not here.
Well, he is on his way. He's texted me a couple of times. The rain was pretty bad coming out of Lafayette earlier today. He should be here anytime. Would you like for us to?
I don't know. I mean,
if I may, we had a meeting last year, via Zoom, about on the audit committee, just me and Jennifer and you guys. But, you said, or your personnel said, I don't remember exactly who it was, but said that you anticipated having this resolved in this audit period. What's respective to the subrecipient monitoring requirements. I specifically note here that it had something to do with a system that was being implemented and that you anticipated having that resolved in the next audit period, 7/1/23 to 6/30/24. So did that, what happened? I'm just looking.
Sure. So the ERA system that we are implementing, still in the implementation process, of course. But the issue for subrecipients that was addressed last year, which had to do with certification, I think it was certification of ASL numbers. That issue was completely resolved. But as Dr. Savoy pointed out a minute ago, the new issue under the same heading has to do with certification of risk assessment. And that's risk not in the sense of health and safety, but risk in the sense of compliance. And so it's a different problem under that same subheading. That ERA system, I really wish we would have installed by now and fully implemented. It will serve us quite well there. But we have some other ideas as well. With the growth of the research enterprise, we're establishing an internal compliance role within that unit so that we have a single person, not a shared responsibility, but a single person within that unit who is going to be responsible for those sorts of compliance issues, particularly with regard to subrecipients, because it's a complex issue, the subrecipient issue.
Okay, I just noticed that, so I wanted to follow up on it and understand.
President Savoy, is there any, do you have an understanding of when Mr. LeBlanc might be here, ETA?
Last text I got from him was at 8:20.
Yeah.
Now he just said he stopped on the interstate.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, would you want to move forward with maybe the third item, have Mr. Jones make his
I
presentation?
think that would be in
for
order.
decide,
So we recess
and then
this
we'll see
item and
where- see where
return
we
it
are.
later.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Members, we'll move to item 3 on the audit agenda. Mr. Jones will walk us through a presentation.
Supervisor Peterson, Chair Romero, President Gallo, and members of the board. Item F3, the University of Louisiana system seeks approval to restructure the internal audit function in order to strengthen independence, promote consistency, and improve efficiency across all institutions. Under the proposed structure, internal auditors located at each campus would report functionally and administratively to the Board of Supervisors through the system's chief audit executive, rather than reporting functionally to the board and administratively to the campus presidents. This change is intended to align with professional standards and best practices while enhancing audit objectivity and oversight. Key elements of the proposed restructuring include appointment of a system-wide chief audit executive, development of clear criteria for escalating audit concerns to the board, and revisions to the system's internal audit charter and audit committee charter to align with the new structure. Staff recommends that the system president be authorized to develop and implement the proposed structure, including the finalization of personnel assignments and operational details. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Members, this is a significant change and restructuring for the system, and is an important move and step in the right direction. But want to open this up for questions or comments that any of the board members may have for Mr. Jones.
Yeah, I would like to just make a comment because throughout the year, last year, when I was audit chair, it just became really obvious to me as a former auditor, albeit a while ago, that we really needed to improve this process and centralize it in a way that the audit executives didn't report to their president, who is exactly the person, not just the president, but it's the operations of the university that fall under the president. So it's just more proper for the auditor to not report to the president, who sets their salary and, all of this. Just like in a corporation, that the internal auditors report to the board, not the CEO of the corporation. So I'm really excited that we're doing this. And I think it represents a first step at bringing some back office, if you will, operations under a common umbrella to not only make the operation of this system more effective, but also there's so many opportunities for efficiencies and understanding what's going on at all these universities, I think is just so incumbent upon us that, while I know it represents a bit of an operational change for, some of the presidents and, some of the operational staff at the universities, I just think this is such an important step that, I hope that everybody understands and is bought into this concept. Because I just think it's really a substantial change and move forward in the right direction. And just thank you. Thank you for getting this done.
Thank you, Supervisor Stokes. I consider myself a downgrade from successor to her as the audit committee chair. So up until this point, Mr. Chairman, I had a lot of confidence in your leadership, but I'm not sure about your selection.
Mr. Peterson, you're doing an excellent job. I have to tell
I'm
you.
least qualified person up here to lead.
And you
audit.
got a heck of a swing person with Supervisor Stokes.
Anyone else?
I would like to
Okay.
thank Supervisor Stokes for her vision and certainly for her discipline in ensuring that we stepped in a direction that would bring integrity to how we function and from an audit standpoint. And I do think that as we grow as a system, in the absence of controls, the circumstances Dr. Sawwa's discussion with us today, if you look at those things, we've had a number of points where I think we could certainly bring improvement, cause our system to work much better. And we still want our universities to operate as an enterprise. There are certain aspects of the business disciplines that support their operations and other areas that we could bring improvement, but audit is primary and is certainly, I again, want to thank you for your leadership and vision and ensuring that we moved in a direction that brought a higher level of integrity to our audit function. And hopefully it'll bring some scale and give us an ability to bring improvement overall as respects our business operations.
Dr. Jones, an audit, as Julie's forgotten more about it than I'll ever know, is only as good as the auditors, though, that are performing it. Is there going to be any change in how the audit system works, Mr. Chairman? Who actually will be the auditors on these various schools?
So we will maintain the internal auditors that are on the campuses now, and we will have a audit executive at the system level that will oversee the internal auditors on the campuses.
Now, a clarifying question, Mr. Jones, the chief audit executive will report directly to the board?
To the board, yes.
And
Yes, but I think that they'll also be supervised and coordinated, some of the audit effort coordinated by the audit executive at the system level.
Correct.
And that was part of what, and I just want to give a shout out to Jennifer Oberthier, who was with us last year and was with me the whole time I was audit committee chair, who was just such an excellent professional. And as her and I trusted her so much, there was so much trust I had in her capabilities. And the more that I looked at it, the more that I believed that there needed to be some guidance from the system level saying, these are the things that we want to concentrate on, at these various universities. And some of them would be, we want to look at this particular thing at all 9 universities. And other things, it could be that we see a particular void at a certain university. And, we feel like we want to look at that. Certainly things could come from the university themselves and, come to the attention of the board or the board's audit executive to then help apportion that work out. Because the board can't know every little detail that a president will know, things that should be looked at. But to understand that whole body of work and to have it summarized at the top level and supervised at that level, I think is just paramount to us being supervisors. I think without knowing those things, it's hard for us to supervise. And I think this is a significant step in the right direction so that we never want to get caught flat-footed on something that we should know about. And this is one substantial step in doing that.
And just to add to Dr. Jones's commentary, This is certainly not a move to displace people. We are going to continue to work in the geographic footprint of our current staff. If time in the future we have turnover and circumstances allow us to employ someone in a different market than the previous individuals located, potentially here or at another campus, gives us the flexibility to do that. If you recall, we've had absences, we had vacancies in our audit departments at the campus level, and in some cases for a pretty enduring period of time. My hope, or certainly my expectation, is that this structure is going to allow us to hopefully fill those voids with a team that brings continuity. And as they onboard a new team member, we continue to support the function of audit and assure that that's kept at a high integrity level.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
If no one needs further clarification, I recommend approval of item number 3. Might have a motion and a second.
I'll move.
So moved by Supervisor Stokes and seconded by Supervisor Salim. Are there any other questions or comments from the board? Any from the public? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. Mr. Chairman, do you want to stand
Mr.
in
Chair,
recess for the committee?
if we would, we could do that. And if we need to pick it up at a future meeting, we can certainly do that as well. I prefer to not do that, but I think we need the right individuals here to provide information to the board. So sorry, thank y'all for being here. It's my regret we can't put this matter behind us. So I would move that we just table it until the next meeting.
Okay, all right. There's no other business before the audit committee. We can,
Do we need to table it, or do we just need to go out of order of the agenda? And I mean, he's on his way, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, and I'm good with that. I would much prefer to.
Okay.
see us-
all right, well, we'll stand in recess for the audit committee.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Peterson.
Is that the right standard, Mr. Stevens?
So audit will stand in recess, and facilities planning will be led by Chair Davison.
We have two action items on the Facilities Planning Committee agenda. Mr. Bruce Janay, Executive Director of Compliance and Risk Management, will provide these reports also.
Thank you so much, Supervisor Davis. Item G1, Louisiana Tech is requesting approval to name room 259, a conference space at Bogart Hall, the Shut Fox Collaborative Suite. Bogart Hall is located at 600 Dan Renault Drive. Dr. Henderson has provided justification for the naming. The university agrees that it will retain the name specified for a period of not less than 20 years, provided the space continues to remain as a collaborative suite. Item G2 from Nichols, request for approval to lease a section of the Nichols Forum to Ducks Unlimited in accordance with state law. The proposed lease of approximately 105 acres would create an additional collaborative partnership between Nichols and Ducks Unlimited. The objective of this project is to improve water quality within the Bayou Faux watershed as part of the Louisiana Restoration Area Environmental Assessment Nutrient Reduction Project. Ducks Unlimited will fund and construct the wetland unit. This project is scheduled to begin construction in late fiscal year 25. Most of the work done during fiscal year 2026. The project will commence upon approval by the board and execution of documents. Cost of the construction is estimated to be approximately $325,000, funded fully by Ducks Unlimited. The term of the lease shall be for a period commencing on date of execution and ending at midnight on the 30th day of June 2027, or until such time a donation of improvements is executed, whichever occurs first. And those are the two items, Supervisor Davis.
Thanks for that presentation. Does anyone require further clarification? I'd like to recommend approval of items G1 and G2. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Salter and Stevens, seconded. Any other, or all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I think I skipped any other questions, but. All right, the motion's approved. Any other business before the committee this time? All right, I think finance is next.
Thank you, Mr. Basada will now lead finance.
We have 5 consent items on the Finance Committee. Mr. Eddie Mesh Vice President for Business and Finance, and Ms. Ashley McIntyre, Director of Financial Reporting and Analysis, will provide the report.
Thank you, Mr. Posada. Item H1, Grambling State University's request for approval to establish the Willie D. Davis College of Business Endowed Professorship. The Louisiana Education Quality Support Fund provides for grants to be awarded upon receipt of private donations for the establishment of endowed professorships, first-generation scholarships, superior graduate scholarships, and endowed chairs. Management boards are required to authorize the establishment of the endowments prior to submission to the Board of Regents for matching funds. Grambling State University requests the board to create the Willie D. Davis College of Business Endowed Professorship. H2, McNeese State University's request for approval to allow for a student referendum for the student self-assessed fee increases. The McNeese State University Student Government Association proposes that a referendum be placed for a student vote to increase certain existing student self-assessed fees and to create 2 new fees. The organizational fee would increase from $4 to $6. The SGA fee would increase from $6.25 to $9. The band fee would increase from $9 to $11, and the theater fee would increase from $2 to $5. In addition, 2 new fees would be on the referendum. The equestrian fee would be assessed at $3, and the powerlifting fee would be assessed at $1.50. The proposed fees would be assessed in the fall and spring semesters, beginning with the spring 26 semester. The student vote would take place in the fall of 25. And these representatives are here to provide more information to answer your questions.
Item H3 is the University of Louisiana System's recommendation for campus housing and meal plan rates, auxiliary rates, energy surcharge, and non-governmental charges for academic year 2025 through 26. Annually, each university has to submit their request for approval for these different rates and charges that are subject to board approval. These rates are generally subject to contractual arrangements with vendors that are adjusted for consumer price index increases. The housing, meal plan, and auxiliary requests are comparable to the most current CPI, with the exception of some requests related to housing renovations and contractual obligations with vendor agreements. Additionally, some of the housing increases are necessary to enable universities to meet their bond obligations. Energy surcharge requests have been supported by calculations submitted by the universities and are all within the maximum allowed per policy. Other service charges have been supported by explanations of need and supporting documentation as necessary.
Item H4, University of Louisiana System recommends that the board authorize the system president to negotiate and submit for approval to the Attorney General a proposed contract for professional legal services with the law firm of Taylor, Porter, Brooks, and Phillips LLP. Boards and commissions are required to provide minutes showing board's approval of legal contracts when submitted for legal service to Attorney General for approval. Taylor, Porter, Brooks, and Phillips will be available to provide legal services and to advise the board, universities, the system on legal matters that may arise during the normal course of operation. Taylor, Porter, Brooks, and Phillips will not include legal services related to tort or workers' compensation covered by the Office of Risk Management. The contract with Taylor, Porter, Brooks, and Phillips would have a term of 1 year from May 1, 25 to May 31, 26. Prior to system universities engaging Taylor, Porter, Brooks, and Phillips, the system president would be required to approve it. Item H5. University of Louisiana System's recommendation that the board adopt a policy regarding all university presidents within the system to obtain board approval prior to engagement of any legal services or retaining outside legal counsel. The University of Louisiana System recommends adoption of a policy requiring university presidents across the system to seek board approval for engaging in legal services or retaining legal counsel. This policy is intended to promote greater consistency, transparency, and alignment with system-wide governance practices. Upon board approval, the system attorney will draft a policy and procedure memorandum to formally codify the requirement and provide implementation guidance. System personnel and legal counsel are available to respond to any questions the board might have. This completes the finance agenda items. So,
Okay, thank you for your report. Consent agenda items H1 through H5 have been reviewed by the board staff, and staff recommends approval. Does any member have a question or wish to discuss any of these items?
Mr. Chair, I would like to get some input from McNeese on item 2, and I'm not sure if Supervisor Brown's going to provide that information.
Carol, please note that Supervisor Brown will not be voting on this item. He'll be abstaining.
Morning, President Gallo, Chairman Romero, and members of the board. My name is Drew Brown. I'm the student body president at McNeese State University. Very honored to be joined today by our university president, Dr. Wade Roos, our senior vice president, Dr. Kedrick Nicholas, and our vice president of academic affairs, Dr. Michael Buckles. Also have a student from the theater department here today, Miss Ashley Rose. We're planning on having more student representatives today. Unfortunately, it is spring break, and the traffic did imbue a few people from attending today. To provide some insight into the student fees that we are providing today, we are requesting that 6 student fees be allowed to go to referendum in the fall semester to appear on the homecoming ballot. As Mr. Mesh mentioned earlier, that is an SGA organization fee with an increase of $2, an SGA executive fund fee with an increase of $2.75, a creation of a new equestrian fee that will start out at $3, an increase in the band fee of $2, an increase in the theater fee of $3, and a creation of a new powerlifting fee of $1.50. I'd be happy to entertain any questions that might arise.
Do we still refer to you as Supervisor Brown when you sit down there?
President Brown down there.
Well, President Brown, are these going to be individual referendum items so that some can pass and others may not pass?
Yes, sir. So Supervisor Stevens and members, I've always been of the belief that student fees should be separated to the extent that they can be. So all of these fees, even the 2 combined SGA fees, will each appear as individual items on a ballot. So a student could theoretically go vote and just vote for the equestrian fee, yes, and vote no on every single other fee. I think of fees kind of like a tax, and when you pay municipal taxes, you vote on each municipal levy, the tax that you want to pay. I think we should do the same thing at the student level for fees.
And when would the referendum be?
So the referendum will appear on the fall homecoming ballot. That was done for a variety of purposes. The fall ballots, at least at McNeese, are substantially higher than our spring ballots. That's mainly due to our homecoming elections on the fall, and there's a little bit more of a push for higher turnout during the homecoming ballot. There's also more people appearing on the ballot in the homecoming ballot than there are for SGA elections. I do have some data to give you there. So the SGA election this year had 13% voter turnout, which is not very good. We did have an uncontested SGA president. I suspect that if we would have had a highly contested SGA executive race, then it would have been a little bit higher, compared to 1,500 votes that were cast in homecoming for last year, which was a mildly uncontested homecoming election last year. So that represented a 25% voter turnout at McNeese compared to 13% that we just had last week. So. And the broad student impact of these fees is incredible. Just to take one into example, the SGA organization fee in the last year alone has helped 46 organizations at McNeese. That's travel funding, event funding, programming funding. The exec fee for SGA, this is a fee that I oversee, which is the main reason that I've recused myself from voting on any of these fees today. This handles a lot of the programming at McNeese. Inflation has hit us hard, unfortunately. This also covers some administrative costs such as salary. Our salary has not increased in SGA since 2010. And I actually, as SGA president this year, I implemented a funding and hiring freeze on SGA. So for the first time in 4 years, this was our first year in the black. Every other year we have been operating at a deficit and pulling from rollover. But this year we cut about $20,000 out of our budget on my first day in office. It was sad. There was a lot of tough decisions that had to be made there. A lot of events were affected, and a lot of events that students would attend, we had to get rid of for the sake of being budget conscious. So my goal is that people see the impact that SGA has and want to support that. Additionally, with the equestrian fee, there's some data provided in the bill later down. These girls, they ride for the brand every single day in every single competition. Equestrian is a very expensive sport. And most of these events they're coming out of pocket for. They're using their own cars for travel. They're using their own horses, their own tack. And when we ran the final cost, it was kind of mind blowing. Them as an organization alone spent $78,000 last year in total everything. So rentals, gas, equipment, insurance, horse vet bills, everything. So this $3 will not be incumbent of their total cost. The reason it's $3, I fear that if they tried to make it incumbent of a total cost, it would never pass because it's simply too high. This at least will help them out with some registration and maybe getting hotels and food. The band fee is another one that I'm particularly keen on hoping it gets passed. The tubas in our band department, and I know this is a little bit anecdotal, but the tubas in our band department, some are 28 years old right now. They're another group that's facing impending budget crisis. When we think of higher education, we think of athletics as a way for people to get a college education, get it paid for. But I also think of band in that same breath. So a lot of students can put their heart and soul into band and get scholarships and all this paid for. But we also want them to enjoy and to spend meaningful time in their band. And the simple fact of the matter is right now we're having to cap what we can take into our band department because we can't afford the instruments. So this is another fee that is not incumbent of what their total cost will be, but at least those will help out a little bit. Theater is another one. Ashley, you want to talk a little bit about theater?
Thank you. So I'm a senior in the program currently. When I went into the program, I came in with 3 other students and there were only 5 people ahead of me in the program. Currently, we're sitting at 20 majors and 2 minors. There has been significant growth since our newest director has come in. He has been bringing in industry professionals for musical workshops and dance workshops and workshops with intimacy coordinators. We have been going to competition once a year to promote ourselves to other industry professionals and learn as much as we can. None of that is accessible or available without funding. We were fortunate enough to get grants the last 2 years, which have helped, but without a raise in our funding from the students, we will be looking at 1 show next year, and that's going to be all that our budget will allow. We have seen a rise in our freshmen for next fall compared to any of the last 5 previous years because they have seen the programs that our director is trying to put in place for us that have encouraged them to come. We currently have not had any of our community programs that involve children in the theater come to McNeese in the last 3 years. We now have 4 joining us in the fall committed to come and multiple considering for the next 2 following years. We have had several students gain job opportunities as well as as well as graduate school opportunities since Dr. has stepped in. And I personally have received 3 job opportunities for after graduation that I have been in the application processing for, that these individuals I would not have met or the markets I would not have been introduced to had they not come to the school and I've been able to have those conversations and work with them previously.
If you ever want to see the quality of our theater department, just spend 5 minutes with Ashley Rose. Also a little anecdote about McNeese Theater. So this year was one of our first years ever. I think it might have been our first year ever, where one of our plays, Tender Atlas, was sponsored by the Kennedy Center for Performing Arts. They competed at the regional level, and if they would have won at the regional level, I believe y'all would have went and performed at the Kennedy Center.
Correct, yes. We
Yes,
were
sir.
also chosen for a national award there as well. through the Kennedy Center.
And the last one is powerlifting. This is a newer organization on campus. They were around for a long time. They had a 2-year gap after COVID, and they're back again. This is a group that really needs some support. Since they're a club organization, they cannot receive any support from athletics. And not saying that they should, certainly, but as a student group, they should have help from students here. They do represent McNeese very well. Just in the last 2 years alone, they've had 22 people commit to the powerlifting team at McNeese, which is an incredible statistic for a small regional university and a small powerlifting team. So.
Just one quick comment that I like to make for the record is that none of these fees are administrative. This is 100% student driven. I meet with Drew every 2 weeks, and throughout the process of this being an idea, coming into fruition of FDA legislation, and ultimately being passed and turned over to the president's office, he always kept me abreast of every step of the process. We talked about some things that we thought were good, some things were bad, but ultimately we believe and trust in the student government process. And that's what this represents. So the hope is that the student body will be able to make this decision and then ultimately decide whether or not our that these are important enough to invest in and contribute to the global development of the students that will be impacted by this condition.
Also, as president of the student body, I'm not allowed to actually work on any of these fees. So while I have been informed, the student senate, which is elected by the students, they have the ultimate decision here. The only thing that I can do is sign the document or veto it. I chose to sign here. All of these fees went to 2 student committees, each with 7 different students on each committee. So they went to the finance and budget committee, as well as the student relations committee. Then they went to a full Senate body of 34 people, and each of these passed favorably, and then signed by the president. Now we're here, and it's my hope that after today we can move forward and let the 6,243 students in McNeese decide.
Are you on the powerlifting team?
I'm not. You couldn't tell that already?
President Brown, do y'all have a strategy to educate the students on the different fees and
Absolutely. While this will be my last year, my vice president of the student body was just elected president, so there is still deep communication there. As a student government organization, we are required to be nonpartisan about all of these fees, including our 2 SGA fees that are appearing on the ballot. So what we do as an organization is give kind of the nonpartisan reading of all these fees. So the blanket reading would just be, do you support the SGA work fee rising from $4 to $6? And that will be the entire language. And then we will put out informational graphics about what the total cost will be on students. And then each individual group will have to actually do the campaigning. And as we've seen in the past, the students in McNeese are not afraid to vote down fees. It has happened quite a bit in the past. They have been very close in the past, and it's very showing the groups that work harder get their fees passed with higher numbers, and the groups that kind of take a step back and hope people just don't know what it is and won't vote, their fees end up failing. So we put a big push on the individual student organizations to fight for these.
what percentage of the students would you anticipate will actually vote?
So if it follows the data trends from what we've seen in the past 3 years of rising election turnout, we could probably see about a 28% voter turnout on the election ballot next year, which would be roughly 1,800 students.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone need any further clarifications?
Mr. Basada, thank you. Mr. Brown, in the process of talking about the fees and bringing them and getting the approval of students, what concerns can you share with us that students or discussions students may have had about cost, rising cost, overall cost, how this impacts?
Absolutely. So there's kind of a multifaceted argument that people say. Of course, rising costs is incumbent on everybody's mind in this generation right now, especially in higher education. So what we've been hearing is that it sucks that the economy is the way that it is, that stuff like this has to rise, but in the same breath that people understand it. And they know that for some of these fees, and even the SGA work fee, which benefits just shy of 2,000 students per year in that one fee alone, that fee hasn't been raised since 2011. So they understand that inflation has hit us. Hotel costs are higher, travel costs are higher. But the main concern associated is definitely rising in costs. And that is why, as an SGA, we are very aware of rising costs, and we try to keep these fees as minimal as possible. And also in the same thought process, we try to put as much oversight and supervision of these fees and make sure that they're actually going to benefit students first. And Dr. Kedrick Nicholas could also provide insight as to how we provide oversight for fees if we need.
Have there been other student clubs or activities or interests that have had a desire to bring forth a fee but hadn't gotten student support to do so?
Yeah, so
Not those that have been sort of not voted on, not have been voted down, but proposed but not made it to.
So over the last year, I've had 13 groups that currently receive a fee or have wanted to receive a fee approach our office and start the process, and then realize that they probably didn't have a good shot in committee or in the Senate, and kind of back off and wait till a good time. For the sake of those organizations, I can't name them, but I can give you kind of generics. One was an international organization. The other one were an international student organization. Two were spirit groups. Another one was a group that benefits all of Greek life. And another one was something that helps leaders on campus go to professional development.
Yeah. And you guys make a decision on this in partnership with the administration about what you want to bring forward, or that's something left strictly to the students?
Strictly to the students. So at the end of the day, while we do require the president's signature, and we feel like we should make them informed enough throughout the process so that they're comfortable giving us the signature, there's no administrative opinion nor decision making that goes into the decisions that happens during government.
Thank you.
Yeah, Supervisor Peterson, I would just add to that, we have a very meticulous fee oversight process for student fees. Our student fees are reviewed annually, it's by committee, that involves mostly students, also employees as well. But every year, those who receive student fees, they have to do a presentation of how they plan to use their fee revenue for the current year in comparison to the previous year. If they have significant rollovers from one fiscal year to the next, they have to explain why. If they don't have a good explanation, they can definitely lead to that fee being reduced or to that money being redirected to other needs for the student body. And that has happened in our recent history. So again, these groups are being presented today. If they have, they will have to justify why those fees need to remain for one fiscal year to the next.
Thank you, sir.
And I'll add, listen, I really do appreciate you all allowing the students to take control in this regard. I mean, I think there's a lot of conversation about fees and things of that nature, taxes, however you want to call it, but allowing the students to take control of this process, I think it's a really good thing that you all are doing, and I really appreciate how you're allowing them to control their future. So,
thank you, Supervisor Jackson.
One more question. How do the students vote? Is it electronic or is it physical or?
Yes, sir. So it's electronic means. So we have a system at McNeese that is on Presence, and you have to sign in with your student email. And then you will go and vote on all the homecoming. You'll vote on everything in one document. So it's not like you're having to switch ballot boxes or go find different documents. Everything will be in one singular ballot method. And only one vote can be turned in per person because we track emails, and it will kick them out if they try to vote again. Same email. Electronic is much better than making people walk into an SG office and do paper ballots.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay. If not, I would like to recommend approval of items H1 through H5. May I have a motion and a second? Motion, Mr. Jackson, have a second from Ms. Pierre. All right. Are there any other questions or comments from the board? Any comments from the public? Seeing none, let's vote. All opposed, say aye. I'm sorry, all in favor, say aye. I'm reading two lines at the same time. I'm trying to move this process through.
President Brown, he was trying to make sure you were paying attention.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is approved. Is there any other business to come before the Finance Committee at this time?
Yes, I would like to get an update if possible on the transfer or the proposed transfer of the University of New Orleans to the Louisiana State University system. I think we could receive that from ourselves and then possibly call up the President Johnson and perhaps CFO Little.
And as they're heading back to their seats, I definitely wanted to commend Eddie Mesh and Ashley McIntyre for not only the stellar job they continue to do in the finance area, but also in helping to shape up and form up what we've done with the audit changes, and especially Ashley. I want to credit her for taking a leadership role on that and thanking them for that. In terms of the potential transfer of University of New Orleans back to the LSU system, the bill has been filed by Senator Jimmy Harris, and he has met with stakeholders from our system, LSU system, as well as the staff at the Senate and with the Board of Regents. He has requested recommendations or potential amendments to that bill that would help ensure a seamless transition if the legislation does pass. Those potential changes to the legislation have not been incorporated yet into the bill. So I would say it's still in very in its infancy in the legislative process, if you know what I mean, former Representative Stokes. So that's where it is right now. Nothing else has occurred legislatively.
Well, I was just wondering, I mean, once this legislation passes, it is done. So I was just wondering what was going on in terms of communication between our system. And I'd like to maybe talk to President Johnson, if possible, have her come up and just see what, what's from, I mean, I just can't help but think of how trying some of this could be from your angle and, what sort of communication you've gotten from us, from LSU, from Regents about this. You could start with us and then go to LSU and then go to Regents.
Sure. So it's awkward. And I would like to start, as I always try to start when anyone asks me about this, by saying how incredibly supported I've been by President Gallo. And I so appreciate the support of the board and Eddie Mesh. We've gone through a lot in the last 17 months or so that I've been here. I really have very little to add other than what President Gallo just said. I believe that today is actually the deadline for information to be advanced either from the UL system, our campus, or the LSU system. I know that my team at the UNO Foundation drafted just some minor edits that they would like to see incorporated into the bill, and I passed those along last week. But that's literally all I know at this time.
Have you heard anything from the LSU system in terms of what their ideas for the university or anything like that?
Not in a formal way. I mean, I've been in meetings downtown with colleagues from LSU Health that invariably say nice and supportive things, but there's not been a formal ask for information, or at least to my knowledge, a formal process for exploring what things could look like if it should come to pass.
And so anything from Regents? I mean, I'm just kind of curious to see if you've been kind of given, as the leader of the school, any information on where this is all going?
No, the role of the regents was to provide the report that was done very quickly, and it's hopefully available to everyone. You all know the information that's in it. This is the study that was done prior to the legislation being able to be filed. It was my understanding that 2 immediate action steps as a result of that study were to be taken. One is that there would be an independent financial audit of some sort with respect to our financials, and the second step was to do an academic program review. And again, we stand ready to provide information, but there's been no formal communication, at least to me, about any of those next steps.
And then, I had heard, and I believe we had talked about, and I heard it on the Regents meeting, that they were going to form a transition team. That was going to be 2 of us, 2 from LSU and 2 from Regents. Has anything ever happened on that?
If you look back at the 2011 legislation that moved it from LSU to the UL system, it was incorporated in the legislation. And so I would expect that
Be later.
that it would, and obviously this is a, legislative prerogative to decide the location of institutions and changing them for systems. So it would be my expectation that it would be included within the legislation, but we've not seen actual language to that effect incorporated yet.
And I would agree, Supervisor Stokes. Obviously, I've had a few conversations with regents, chair, not a clear plan is established at this point. I know that, as you indicated, the deadline for information to be provided is upon us. And I would suspect that we'll see some development. I can assure you that as information comes my way, I will very quickly share that with our president as well as with all of you. We'll keep you informed, but from my perspective, not much development. I think it's in that period where they're doing the reviews and preparation, and obviously the legislature will need to take their steps. But,
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's, kind of why I wanted to ask, because
Sure.
it is this deadline of, what do we want to put in the bill? And it just feels so nebulous, like, we went from having University of New Orleans here and suddenly this change of direction. And I just kind of want to keep it in the ethos, and so that we can know kind of what's going on with it. So I don't know if I could ask that, we incorporate kind of updates on that as we go, if possible.
I'll be sure and keep the board updated
I appreciate
on
it.
any developments.
Perfect. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Johnson.
Any other business?
I would just like to make a comment relative to, legal involvement and other matters. It has been an absolute pleasure to have Dr. Jones here to manage that process. He brings a significant amount of value, and I believe is going to truly bring an impact to how we engage legal services. And I'm thankful for that. Also, I'm very thankful for Brandon DeQueer, his firm, the DeQueer, Clark and Adams firm, for their long relationship. They've been here the entire time that I've been on this board, and frankly have done a superior job for us. And I appreciate their ability to look at our needs and bring efficiency to how we approach legal matters. So thank y'all again for everything you all do. And I certainly know that y'all are choice counsel, and I look forward to seeing that continue.
Mr. Chairman, I think we're can take up the audit committee.
So we're gonna
item.
wrap up finance, and I see Mr. LeBon's here. If we could, Chair Peterson's gonna resume the audit committee meeting.
Members will return back to our committee agenda item on ULL. President Savoy, I'll turn it over to you if you want to add up any more comments before you open it up to questions from the board.
No, sir. Although I do have everyone who can answer any question about any aspect of it here. Some with wet feet, but they made it. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize I can't do anything about stalled vehicles and hard rain on the interstate.
I understand. I experienced the same.
I know. I'm here to answer any question.
And again, I'm not sure where exactly we left it off, but obviously, if you could get into the audit issues that were presented, my understanding is the audit issues are particularly focused and contained within the finance department. Is that correct?
Well, but you have to.
I know the finance department serves the entire university, but are the audit findings a reflection of control failures in other departments, or is it an aspect of the finance departments and their service to the other departments?
It's spread, because what you have is, while the primary financial responsibility lies within the financial unit, you have other components spread through the university. For instance, with the growth of 25 million a year in research activity, the PIs obviously play an integral role in how that expansion goes. And so the challenge that we've had is how to provide those support, that administrative support, to PIs in order so that we can save time with the compliance. So you have a part of it is pre-award, which is under the Vice President of Research. Then you have the financial compliance and the invoicing that's under a unit within administration finance. But the two are always working together in order to meet those goals of compliance. And so I think what you heard before under the discussion is you have these broad areas of research, and a lot of activities occur under those broad areas. So it is possible to have a finding in one sector of a broad area, and then have another finding in another sector of a broad area. And then the next year, something else in that broad area turns up as an issue. And so while they get classified generally as a repeat, there are different things happening within those broad components. So we're constantly moving in order to solve those problems and to move on. I think the other question came because I was trying to stream it in between traffic and not get myself killed. But y'all asked about a component we discussed during a prior Zoom meeting. That component is a module under Banner, which is the Illusion system we use. We tried to stand up that module, but that's not doing it for us. You've got to overlay an ERA system, a comprehensive ERA system, electronic research administration system, which that's what we're now moving towards, to overlay that to give us enough, give us enough power to escape and getting to. So we're not going to solve this. I can tell you that because we've tried the last 2-3 years. We're not going to solve it with people. There's not enough people we can put in order to handle because the current personnel in speed back, they're each handling 90 contracts. So and then we're increasing every year. So that's not going to solve the problem of being in complete compliance. That's why we're moving to automate and do a complete ERA system that overlays on our Illusion comprehensive system that we think will finally give us enough bandwidth to be able to handle growth and to continue again adding $25 million of activity per year. You're not gonna do it. We couldn't get there by hiring 20 more people. That's not the solution. So we take each of these findings very seriously, and we design plans in the past to mitigate it. And we mitigate those, but under those broad areas, here's something else. So it gets reported as a repeat, but it's not exactly a repeat. And I think that's, it is what it is, and we take responsibility for it. But it's important to have that context that it's not exactly the same thing that's occurring year after year, because we move to plug that
But while we're doing all that, the ultimate solution, we're moving forward at a much higher level and a much broader level. Because you're not gonna solve these, you could solve these findings, which again, did not result in any loss of funds, was not out of compliance with any federal regulation, was not out of compliance with any grant provision. It was an internal kind of process that we aspirationally set for ourselves that the auditors picked up because it's not a policy, it's not a formal process, it's an aspirational goal to review certain things on a monthly basis. So
I can appreciate your efforts and certainly understand and thank you for the explanation you provided. You know, I do see, and it sounds like you're forced into a reactive position, unfortunately, due to the lack of systems. You know, I would agree with you that, you know, people are vital and people with systems are effective, and having the right tools to perform their jobs are imperative. I think without any question, you know, our concern is, do those failures and the lack of controls to prevent them and to proactively bring us in a better position potentially cause us to start losing grant sponsors or be in violation of federal funds? Because I think where there's smoke, we have fire. And if we don't take a serious approach to bring a timely implementation of the solution that's going to put us in a better position to allow us to more proactively manage our financial obligations to those that are funding us, then I do think we are in jeopardy of the next steps that you're saying we fortunately haven't suffered. My question is, are we in jeopardy of losing any of those?
no, we're not in jeopardy of losing any of it.
That's great.
So because that's one of the first things we look when we get a finding, okay, what kind of jeopardy does this put us in? Do we have a bigger problem than just is what's for such? So we always look into the ripple effect. We haven't found that at all on any of them. There's been no hint of that. There's been no, you know, we've not received any communication from any federal agency. There's, again, no loss of funds. There's no misappropriation. There's none of those. We go back and we fully look at and peel the onion back as far as we need to peel it in order to make sure that the institution is not put in jeopardy.
Do you have a plan to comprehensively address the issues at hand and a timeline for the implementation of that plan?
We're moving that. The timeline is now.
Right. So when do you see it to be fully functional?
Well, again, so just so you understand, what we're in the process as we speak is to engage a third party to come in and help us with the invoicing issue, because that was raised as an issue.
So we're going to contract out an administrative service.
Piece, just as an interim piece. That, and while we're moving forward, and these are not big contracts, so we're bringing a firm in who has experience in that area to shore up things while we're implementing all these other big pieces, which we're in the process of issuing the RFP for the ERA system.
Is your plan consistent with what other R1 institutions are adopting or have functionally in place?
Everyone who reaches a critical mass like we have has an ERA system. Everyone. That is the only way that they can sustain scalable growth.
So what you're doing is normal and it's something we should have had in place. But obviously we're taking measures to bring remedy.
So the tipping scale is, how far do you go? You know, with our rapid growth, we're kind of a victim of our own success in that we've had such a rapid growth. You usually don't implement one of these comprehensive systems until you reach some sort of critical mass. And we reach that critical mass sooner than we anticipated. So we're having to play a little catch up in order to overlay these big major systems that can handle this size.
Sure. And having attended a number of presentations, Dr. Savoy's coordinated, hearing Dr. Calaru's presentations, the determinations and opportunities are significant. So we're going to continue to see the elevations if you stay on the path you're on. Obviously, it's great to hear this is in place. I would like to see that we as a system have a follow-up to assure, and I come from an old adage, inspect what you expect, that all things were put in place. I think it's a responsibility of this board, and I don't ever, and I'm like Dr. Sabo, embarrassed by the fact that our oversight has allowed an institution to have repeat findings as far as 4 years in a row. And we just don't want to do that anymore. I hear you, but it's still related.
But it's important to draw the distinction because that's just the headline that's put out there. We have.
Well, it's not a headline, it's coming from our our legislative auditor. I know you have.
Exactly. So what I'm telling you is that if they're within their rights to categorize it as they want. What I'm trying to explain to the board, I think it's important for the board to have that context. That again, these are not exactly the same thing every year, although it's under the broad category. Having said that, we take each and every one of them extremely seriously and we move to mitigate. You know, we're not sitting around, we're moving to mitigate these things as they're raised. Some of them are hyper-technical. Some of them we fully own, that it's a breakdown in how we have an internal process. If it's our responsibility, we're not afraid to own it, fix it, move on, and make it better. We're not shying away from that.
And I have a plan to
And
prevent
we have a plan
future
to-
recurring issues in the same area. You know, again, I can appreciate where you're coming from. We simply, as a board,
I'm with you.
are not interested in seeing those things in the
I got it.
future. And I think if any institution has recurrent audit issues, I believe it's our responsibility to have a more engaged conversation and to have a proactive solution to assure that we don't see it back in front of us the following year. So
Right. And
again,
so-
I hope y'all understand that. And
Correct.
ultimately, I'm sure when you were a legislator, you probably had some state agencies that y'all had tough conversations with. This is not singling out anybody. It's no witch hunt. We've got to get in the right spot so that our success is
We're
not
We're
compromised.
stop seeing it too. You understand? We're not, I'm going to assure the board that we're not just sitting around and saying, oh, well, here's another, here's another finding. Let's not. We
Sure.
take all of these very seriously. And so we immediately ask, you can ask the finance staff under me, the numerous times that I've had meetings and strategy sessions to move this and solve this and settle it.
And
So,
your commentary today, while I've read all of the management reports over the years involved, it definitely fills in a lot of voids. And I appreciate the fact that you all took the time to review, reflect, and come back to us with a presentation, a plan, and a solution that's going to hopefully bring this to where we don't see it again.
well, again, so during the trend, so lay all the cards on the table. In an implementation phase, I can't tell you that the auditors are not going to come in on something else that we don't even know about, some technical process. They may come in before the ERA is still up. So while we're trying to mitigate, I want, everybody ought to be aware that we don't know whether there's some other, although we're testing and testing and testing, it's always possible that some other minute findings under this category may pop up again before everything is lit up and fully implemented.
Just to be clear, the ERA will be the possession of the university, or will it be aligned with the contractor you plan to engage? So you own it, you own the data, your personnel will be inputting the information. What is the contract party gonna? What are they gonna do? Can you give us a high level scope of what they're?
We haven't, the RFP is out right now. We're waiting for the proposals to come back in. I mean, hopefully, we've put together an aggressive implementation phase. So I can better answer that question in about 30 days.
We look to hear back from them. That's all my questions.
Yeah, in one idea as I listen to you guys, and I'll look back at my notes because I'm thankful for my tons of notes. one of the things that we talked about, and I just had it in as the system, but from what I can see, we were talking about this ERA system and a need for it then. And I guess what I think might be helpful, there was, I made a note that said, Jerry said they were going to get a report for us on the implementation of the system. So perhaps if you could, like in a, I don't know, whatever you guys decide is most appropriate, just if that's a monthly or a.
We can let you know a proposed timeline of the implementation. What I was discussing back then is we already have a module in Banner that we've tried to light up. And that's not gonna, right? So these are two separate.
That makes sense.
That's two separate entities. We tried to light up a module we already have. And that's not gonna cut it because we're trying to light this up and we have this huge attrition, right? So we have huge attrition in feedback and we have a lot of attrition in pre-award under Dr. Coogan. So it's just tough to keep people. And as we elevated to R1, now we're getting poached. So, but it's a grind for somebody to handle 90 contracts per person. So that's why you have to move to some automated system, because even if you double that, you're still gonna have the capacity for human error. You just gotta get on that. So we've got to overlay the ERA on everything else we already have in the bank. So it's two different.
So
That makes sense.
The individuals are responsible for the function. I want to make sure I understood what you said. Are they in finance or do they work in research? Who do they report to? Who controls their activities? Who controls, you reference individuals, you have turnover under Dr. Colorou's team, turnover under your team. Who's leading that group?
Yeah, well,
It's split.
So, okay, the system that you were referring to back then, you guys tried,
Yeah.
and that did not work out. So now you're looking into ERA systems, and what did that stand for again?
Yeah, electronic research administration. That's kind of the acronym known nationally.
Yeah, I was gonna
It's
look that
not a
up, but I figured while I had you here.
particular company, right? It's just a.
Right. The Electronics Research Administration module or app. So, and you guys have hired consultants to come in and help you until that's done.
Manage a piece of invoicing
Okay.
so that we remain timely on the invoice. Because that was raised as a prior issue.
Yeah,
Right, so
I
that's
thought
what
that too, yeah.
that's how we're addressing a prior issue. Because, again, and please understand, we're not trying to make excuses, we're not trying to, this is a discussion and a briefing so that you all have a complete understanding, and I can go way far in the weeds.
No, we want a high level. High level's fine.
Yeah. So that part, handle it, you reach a point where if you're gonna handle 90 contracts, something is gonna give. So we're trying to shore up, temporarily shore up the invoicing part. At the same time, we're trying to implement this larger solution.
So, and just to like kind of be that initial, like, where are we on the ERA system? You have not issued an RFP for that
It's
yet.
imminent, so but we're gonna give them a short period of time to send this proposal back so that we can get it.
Okay, so, I just think keeping the board, and I don't know what group, since, I'm not audit committee chair anymore, but I know about it, so maybe keep all of us kind of on the loop as to what's going on. Yeah. Supervisor Peterson's like, yeah, Julie stuck me with this. I'm sorry. But if you could just kind of keep us updated on the status of that. Because what you're saying makes sense.
I have a couple questions or Skeeter wants to go.
And then Mr. Bassan.
My friends on the board, obviously know 1,000 times more about audits. I've got a real general question though, that I keep being asked. How far in the hole are you guys? I mean, I hear one number that's 4 million. I see a big number that's 20-something million. Overall, what's the finances there? Are you guys got control over the financial situation?
We're managing our money. We're implementing what we need to do in order to keep the university solvent and flowing and, we've been very fortunate, that we have the ability to manage, we all suffer kind of a perfect storm. A lot of stuff hits at one time. We've been aware we do extensive projections every week, sometimes twice a week. The staff has been lean. We start looking at mitigation. What do we need to do to throw this up? We've taken individual action internally to stop expenditures in certain areas. So we feel like we're on top of it. We are very confident that we can end the fiscal year without major issue. So we feel very good but it's been an aggressive internal management operation in order to bring things in line, given the part that we've been doing.
The athletic deficit is the main problem.
The athletic deficit is a problem in all institutions, and we have the same problem. Although within the last couple of weeks, athletics has started to make transfers in order to mitigate some of that deficit. So that's been one tool in the toolbox that we've had discussions that we've got to mitigate. We recognize we've got to mitigate that athletic deficit, and it just so happens that in the last several weeks, we've to make the transfers and to cover that deficit. So we feel very positive about we feel very positive about that. Is it going to eliminate it? And you can eliminate it in 1 year, but we're now making substantial progress.
You're not going further in the hole.
We're trying not to go further. We can't we got to stop someplace. So they're starting to pay off their debt.
Thank you.
Mr. Basada.
I'd like to get back to turnover because it was mentioned earlier and then you added to it a little bit. So this turnover been an ongoing problem for 4 years? Is that correct? And so how do you address it? What can you do to?
Well, that's a catch-22. So we've taken a look at salary studies in the area. Do we boost that?
Is a turnover caused because they're going to other institutions that?
It's the workload and the level of pay and other institutions. It's a combination of all of it. It's a combination. But let me, and we have several units. We have, the New Iberia Research, our New Iberia Research Campus. They have a high degree of turnover. Obviously, in animal care and all, it's group. And we've tried to address that with civil service to increase those rates to mitigate or slow down some of the attrition, and it's still good. It's one of those things that are just, it's the nature of what the job entails, and there's a lot of burnout. These units are also susceptible to that kind of burnout. So again, we're taking another look. Do we increase all of the base? And that's going to have some impact, but it's not going to have the impact like implementing an ERA. Yeah. Then the folks in that particular, in those sections, then they have a technology tool that will help them and support them and increase the pace at which they can process that. And then have, embedded in these programs or compliance measures and
structures and administrative rules that help steer you, the right way in compliance. So, we have that under discussion again about modification of pay scale. That will work, but only to a limited extent. And it would only buy us some time because the average person in most of these shops is maybe 2 years experience in both, max. So there's not any 4 and 5 and 10-year expertise in either of these shops. So that's, but and then you pile that on expensive growth, then you gotta keep trying to feed that asset, and that becomes a challenge on its own. So I don't know what to tell you the right solution is, but we're constantly working on that. But we feel like the technology tools are gonna be a big part of easing some of that work capacity stress that seems to burn folks out. That's our best shot.
The other thing I didn't quite understand, you're giving your explanation, talking about these repeat findings. They weren't the same thing, but they were in the same area or the same unit or whatever. Is it the same people making the same mistakes? Do you have a training problem?
Yeah. So, okay, so if I could break it down this way, you have centers of excellence, we have research centers. In the research center, there's a model where you have administrative support, right? None of the findings came out of that structure. The findings came out in the academic side where you have PIs that are embedded in the colleges that are very prolific, and they're having some issues with either certification of effort, or it's the paperwork, it's the documentation. So we've now, a year ago, we've started to come up with a plan that we're going to create administrative clusters. So we're gonna dispatch personnel between colleges, like for instance, science and engineering. We put a cluster of support program managers for research that are going to be tied to those 2 colleges. And then we're gonna take some of these issues that were mentioned in the audit reports, and they're going to be responsible for providing support to the PIs that are located in the college. So we think that will go a long way towards helping an individual PI manage what they have and grow what they have. So again, that's a solution that we kind of put on the table and are in the process of implementation. The job descriptions have just been completed, and we're about to hit the market on that, assuming we can manage freezes and all this stuff. So as soon as we can get to it, that's our intent to solve that issue, where that's where the findings came from, is those PIs that lack support. Training, they go through, there's some training in the beginning. We can always amp that up. That's a recent discussion that we've had on the academic side of the house and the research side of the house about amping up training on the front side. But you can train all you want. Human nature is when they get a volume of work, they need help. And so that's our solution going forward, is to create these administrative clusters by grouping colleges, and so that these PIs can get the support we need. That helps us on the back end from any repeat findings. But they're all different from last time. Everything is different. They're just under these categories, and we spotted. But again, I want to emphasize, we've had no threat of loss of funding. There's been no issues, no debarment, no misappropriation, none of that. We do not have any indication that the institution is in jeopardy of losing a single penny. So
I do have one more question. Considering that many of the comments were made around research department, what is the net financial effect research brings to ULL presently?
well, it's, I mean, it's huge. It's, indirect.
Do we have room to maybe proactively find some ways to make adjustments to stabilize personnel, put the right capacity in place, and assure that we remedy these issues and potentially, I think turnover is a product of competitive market rates. Obviously, salaries and wages have had a lot of pressure. There are a lot of things moving around, in New Iberia, in the Lafayette market. I see it, I feel it in our business. But obviously, if this enterprise is truly performing with good, strong margins, I would think it would be worth considering adjustments to find ways to stabilize things to bring a better performance level and alleviate the issues at hand. I can
Yeah.
appreciate we're trying to run lean, but if we rob in this unit and using those funds elsewhere, do we shore this up? Because it seems like this is where our issues are continuing to manifest.
And we tried that twice. So we've raised levels in both of these shops twice in the past. And we haven't hit that sweet spot.
Mhm.
Every time we raise, we still got
Sure.
We still got it. So we're all in on doing that. It's how high can you go before you get to be.
Yeah, and look, President Gallo and I have had many, many discussions around this and had a good conversation with President Savoy. I truly believe that, we may be a little more intrusive, but I think we need to. And work collaboratively to assure that going forward, all of those things that we need to do have been put in place, and then we can see the yielding outcomes that we all desire to see.
And so, we have yet another market analysis being done in these areas to see, okay, what's our target now? What do we have to do now? I'll give you I've been through this before in another, when I was commissioner of administration, we had a serious problem with correction officers in the prison. Attrition, horrible, 60%. We picked it, we adjusted those rates and cut it down to 25%. So again,
Great.
me personally, this is not my first rodeo doing that. When you have tough work environments, you have to scale up in order to try and keep them. But two things are happening. As soon as we raise them, you have other competition, you have other market competition that's poaching them. And because they're R1, they're viewed as having experience, and they're going to other folks who are trying to become R1. So that's just the nature of success. You gotta stay with it.
And you know as well as anybody, and I certainly would say that finance alone doesn't solve it. Culture is imperative, and we have to obviously do that and embrace building a strong culture that causes people to be cohesive and lets them feel part of the team.
Mr. Jackson, and I think maybe Mr. Stevens, you have something too.
Yeah. I just wanted to echo what the chairman just mentioned, because that was one of the things for me. In my business, I've noticed, you can throw as much money as you want at any problem. I think, but when you have a systemic cultural issue, unless you solve that, nothing else matters. So I just want to make sure that you all understand. Maybe you might want to take a look on the culture side and see if there's some changes administratively, or is the right message being dulled down? Because what you find, it's all about leadership, basically ensuring that the message is not diluted as it goes down the line. So a strong message is important. So I would ask that you all take a look at culture as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
You good? Anyone else?
Thank y'all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for the discussion.
TJ was a long 5 minutes.
I stopped it through that.
You did. I appreciate you for it.
Mr. Chairman, I think that concludes the business of the audit committee.
Thank you. On to personnel. Chair Salim.
We have two consent items on the Personnel Committee agenda. Ms. Neal, Business Operation Director, will provide the report. Ms. Neal?
To appoint Dr. Nico as interim dean and professor of the College of Science, Engineering, and Mathematics, and director of IICC, effective March 1st, 2025. I too, Northwestern State University, request for approval to appoint Dr. Amy Maddow as dean of the College of Nursing and School of Allied Health, effective March 24th, 2025.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, Sabato's here and I'd like for her to come up if she could for a second. Dr. Bato has just been outstanding, Mr. Chairman, as far as getting our nursing program ranked consistently as one of the top in the country. And we're honored to have her here and just like to see if she and Mr. President and Mr. Provost have any comments for the board.
Well, good morning, just before, good afternoon, it's still morning this morning, and thank you for allowing us an opportunity to give before you. It's been a long morning. We want to make this as brief as possible. We come before you, a request for approval to appoint Dr. Amy Battle as Dean of the College of Nursing and School of Allied Health. She's been the interim dean. She's been absolutely phenomenal. She has set the standards for nursing throughout the state. And we certainly want to promote her to the status of dean. That's what we're here for. I will now yield to our provost, Dr. Hundle, for any information and background information given with Dr. Battle.
Thank you, President Genovese, and I'm happy to talk a little bit about Dr. Batto. She has been a full-time faculty member with us since 2020, and she has served as our interim dean since January of last year. And so we're really thrilled to be able to move her permanently into the position. In just a few weeks, the College of Nursing and School of Allied Health will celebrate 75 years as a college and offering nursing and allied health programs, and 55 years for our School of Allied Health. That's over half of our existence as a university. And that's not accomplished without great leadership. And Dr. Batto is well positioned in her fields to take this college and School of Allied Health from where it currently is, which is a beacon of education in our part of the state and for the region, and take it to the next level. So we're really thrilled to have Dr. Batto with us. Dr. Batto.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. I'm honored and humbled to have been selected to serve as the next dean for Northwestern State University's College of Nursing and School of Allied Health. I would like to thank the university for this opportunity, as well as this board for your consideration of my appointment. I look forward to building upon that tradition of excellence that Dr. Hondel just referenced, and to working collaboratively with my colleagues, our clinical partners, our communities of interest, to do important work, which is to prepare the next generation of healthcare providers who will improve the health of our state, region, and nation. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentations. If no one requires further clarification, I would like to recommend approval of items L1 and 1-2. May I have a motion and a second? Motion by Mr. Stevens and seconded by Mr. Salters. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Any comments from the public? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion is approved. Are there any other business to come before the committee at this time? Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chair Salim. Mr. Salter will provide a report on legislative committee.
Well, is it on now?
Yes.
Okay, all right. We have one discussion item on the legislative agenda today, And Mr. Vath is at the table here and will, in just a second, give him an opportunity to make the presentation. He's been with the department about 2 years. And last year he did some work with the legislature. And this year he's really going full bore in terms of being very active there. And the reports that I've gotten so far indicate that that you're doing a good job. So we look forward to hearing from you today, and also, of course, in the future. So if you would give us your presentation.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor Salter and President Gallo and Chair Romero. On Monday, April 14th, marked the beginning of the 2025 regular session of the legislature. President Gallo, on behalf of the University of Louisiana system, has already had the opportunity to testify in front of members of House Appropriations and Senate Finance in support of higher education. We've been grateful for the opportunity to celebrate student success as well as articulate the impact of our educational enterprise on communities across the state. And we are encouraged by the proposed funding levels for our system in the governor's executive budget. And we will, of course, continue to advocate for our students, faculty, and staff as this fiscal session continues. Though we are still at the start of session, we are monitoring a number of instruments that are working through committee, and they touch on topics such as proposed changes to TOPS, proposed changes to athletics and NIL funding, capital outlay, deferred maintenance, mental health, dual enrollment. There's a bill calling for the sunsetting of DEI programs that we're looking at closely, and then finally a bill that seeks to address hazing on college campuses. All these bills are among a set that we're tracking, and I'll be sharing that report with you all following this meeting. And in our June meeting, we'll, of course, provide a summary report of session to you. As part of this year's legislative session, we're also excited to once again host ULS Day at the Capitol on May 5th, 2025. This event will primarily take place as a reception at the Capitol Park Museum from 4 to 7 following the day's legislative activities. And it will feature music, food, spirits, and academic excellence from across our 9 campuses. We look forward to seeing you all there and hope you'll consider bringing a friend along to check out the great things that our campuses are up to. And with that, my presentation is concluded. Thank you.
Are there any questions, comments from the board?
Mrs. Salter, I have one.
Yes, sir. Mr. Peters.
Can you give more on the DEI piece of this? I want to hear more detail on what the bill is addressing in particular.
Yes, sir. Happy to. So that's HB House Bill 425 by Representative Chenevert. It calls for state agencies to abolish all DEI programs, offices, and positions, and removes DEI performance requirements for employees. It asks to provide for the revision of all DEI-related rules and practices as necessary to comply with such abolition. So it's a statewide agency directive, not specific to higher ed, but higher ed does fall among that. It's currently pending House and Government Affairs in committee. And one of the things that we're looking at closely within higher education is just trying to understand to what degree, if at all, it will have any particular application to classroom instruction. Right. But at present, our understanding is it just sort of talks about programming, staffing, and formal office roles.
Programming in, meaning how adults are trained on the issue, but not programming that might impact students.
So,
I guess that's the clarification I'm looking for. In particular, as we think about the Lewis Scholars Program and that piece of work, which is aimed at advancing or increasing graduation rates of a particular group, would that be targeted by this legislation, or is it something different?
So if I could just jump in for a second, Mr. Peterson. So that's one of the things that we will be working with Representative Chenevert as we did last year to clarify what the actual goals are. And to her credit, she was very receptive to meeting with the entire higher ed community to make sure that she was able to accomplish the goals that she set out to in the legislation, and an attempt to minimize unintended consequences. So we are looking forward to advancing those conversations, and so we're still not totally clear on all the definitions that are included, but we will look to get more clarity on the goals of the legislation.
Thank you, sir.
Any other board members have questions or comments? Anybody from the public wish to speak? That concludes the business of the legislative committee, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Salter. President Gallo has a report at this time as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. UL system office personnel actions and campus personnel actions were made available to the board members. Staff has reviewed all of these requests and recommends approval. I would ask, Mr. Chairman, for a motion and second to approve these recommendations.
We have a motion recommendation from the president.
I'll make the motion.
Moved by Mr. Stevens, second by Mr. Salim. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, next I would ask Dr. Erica Calais to provide an update on the University of Louisiana at Monroe presidential search. Dr. Calais.
Good morning, Chair Romero and the board, President Gallo. First, I would like to take this opportunity to recognize Chair Romero and President Gallo for making sure that the ULM Search Committee was well represented by appointing a very multifaceted committee. Although large, it was intentional, and so I do appreciate that. I also appreciate the fact that the committee was extremely engaged. They were very thoughtful throughout the process. So yesterday, we held our search committee meeting to identify semifinalists to be interviewed on ULM's campus next week. The search committee has identified 3 semifinalists: Dr. Jonathan Ambrose, Mr. Chris Broadwater, and Dr. Chrissy Castile. They all have agreed to be interviewed on ULM's campus next week. At this stage, we are conducting reference checks and also background checks for these individuals. Stakeholder group meetings and interviews again will be held next Tuesday and Wednesday on the 29th and 30th on ULM's campus. And I will be more than happy to share that information out with you. At that time next week, at the conclusion of the last interview, the search committee will deliberate and identify finalists for you to interview at the special board meeting on May 19th. So please mark your calendars, and Mr. Brown, that will be your final meeting, okay? And so that is all I have at the moment, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Dr. Calais, for the great work. We look forward to being on campus next week and definitely are determined to bring the next great leader to University of Louisiana at Monroe, and look forward to Dr. Bruno hosting us of some sorts.
Sure thing. Thank you.
And I would also like to thank Dr. Calais and Dr. O'Rourke and the entire team for all of the work that typically goes unseen, but certainly up to the general public is unseen. But I appreciate the just the great professional work that you all put into these processes. So thank you all very much for that.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right. Next up, excited to and want to recognize McNeese's men's basketball season. As many of you know, they made it to the playoffs this year. And did we lose Dr. President Ruse? You grab him? I don't know if I should give him a microphone this late into the meeting, but I certainly wanted to give him an opportunity to highlight the accomplishments of their men's basketball program.
And Amir Khan. Dr. President Gallo, you can't forget about Amir Khan either, the student manager.
I'll turn it over to Dr. Roos to talk about anything related to the men's basketball program. Again, we just wanted to highlight and congratulate you and the program for successes this year.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, thank you so much for having us. I really, if I'd have known this, I'd have tried to keep Coach around a little bit longer. He flew out last night. He's heading back to try to recruit his new team. But, it was a good, we got to spend some time with the chairman yesterday, and Will Wade's an incredible coach. but we've learned that he's more of an incredible person. He bought into the vision of our university that we were going to use the athletic profile to raise the academic profile and to stop a 15-year downward trend in enrollment. Never once, I'm sorry I was outside, I ran to the restroom, I didn't know I was up, so I'm out of breath right here. So never once did I say, hey, coach, I've got 15 kids coming in from Hagberry. Can you just walk in the room at 7:30 in the morning and high five? That he said no. Never once did I ask him to come to a high school, visit a class, did he say no. He would move his schedule. He understood the bigger vision and mission wasn't about basketball. It has absolutely nothing to do with basketball. It has to do with attracting that marginal kid locating in Jennings and in Beaumont to create enough excitement to come be a part of our university that gives us then the opportunity to change their life, create a chemical engineer, change that student's life, her student's life, her grand student's life. And we just use the conduit of a basketball coach to do that. The fact that he flew back in the middle of his recruiting season up there tells you what it means to him to have been in the great state of Louisiana and will always be a part of who we are. So I thank this board, all the supervisors so much for the support. It was a good little run. Our goal is to be better next year. Thank you.
Dr. Russo, I think it would be great if you could share some of the measurable impacts he's had. I think you showed application hits. He crashed your
Yeah, I'm a little anal when it comes to metrics. So we measure everything, every little thing there is. We normally get about 2,000 to 3,000 visits to our website a day. During the second half, 3 minutes into the second half of the game against Clemson, we had 54,000 people hit the website and crash it. It disappeared for like 20 minutes and then came back down later on. We had joked about it. Hey, if we win a game, it's going to crash the website. And I told my IT department about it. And they facetiously sent me a picture before the game with them staring at a computer like it wasn't going to happen. And then I sent a picture back with not the most probably unprofessional message that wasn't so funny anymore. So huge deal there. The most recent statistic, Mr. Chairman, that I spoke to you last night, which I think is really, really important because it goes back to some of us that are a little older than the computerized ACT scores. I can remember taking my ACTs and picking those 3 schools where you wanted to send your scores to. We just got spring over spring interest. And to me, that's very pure. That's not a mother or a father. That's a kid sitting down getting ready to take an exam. Where do I want these scores to go to? Up 112%. Spring over spring. Applications are up 16%. Enrollment. Now, we did some front end stuff with Cowboy Day. We had over 60% increase in the amount of kids that came visit our campus versus last year versus this year. I'm knocking on wood here, guys. We've been very, very busy changing culture, streamlining the organization. You heard me say in our committee last week, we're 92 people shorter today than we started this thing. We're a streamlined organization, probably too skinny right now. I've got 12 reports, direct reports. That's any organizational structure book will tell you that's too many. Dr. Nicholas has got 12. But we had to do what we had to do to make sure we could be cash flow positive. And if it all works like we think it's going to work in the fall and the enrollment numbers come in like we think, we'll have a surplus. So that's ultimately the goal.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry I was out there, guys.
Good move.
Dr. Roos, you sure it wasn't your victory dance moves that drove all the attention?
I am
to the
so
website?
embarrassed by that. Our cheerleaders, and I'm humbled by our students. Every time I see them come up here, I was chomping at the bit to get at the table and say, Drew, don't forget to say this, don't forget to say this. But I mean, we live in the dorm for a reason. We are truly humbled by our students. Every time I see them in public, it gives me the motivation to wake up at 4 o'clock and work our tail off because we get special students like Drew Brown and I'm drawing a blank on her name, but our theater student that was here today, she'll be mad at me.
Ashley.
Ashley, yes.
It's not a metric, right?
And what they do every day, yes. And when the cheerleaders said, Doc, come in here and dance. I didn't think anybody had a camera, but I should know better than that by now. But when I saw it on video, I was like, holy smoke, let's hope nobody else sees that. But obviously you saw it, so I apologize for that. Wasn't the most professional dance moves or presidential dance moves. Thank you so much for all your support.
Thank you, Mr. President.
That's all right.
All right. The 8th annual For Our Future Conference took place in Baton Rouge at the end of March. The pre-conference event entitled Future Forward, State of the State, focused on the future of Louisiana and the role public post-secondary education can and should play to ensure success. Panelists included legislators, representatives from business and industry, and our K-12 and higher education partners. I'd like to thank Supervisor Jackson and Brown for their participation. The conference itself, with an audience of over 450 faculty and staff from across our 9 member institutions, provided programming focused on teaching, research, service, and talent development, as well as networking opportunities. I'd also mention that Dr. Todd Keller from Nichols commented that all the sessions he attended, he felt like the message was directed to him. It's kind of like when I went to church and the preacher was talking to me. He felt like it was good programming that we had provided. And so again, want to thank our team at the system office for putting together an amazing conference, and for all of those who were able to attend. The academic summit. For those who were unable to attend the academic summit earlier this month, I'm excited to share just a few highlights from that event. The summit was a celebration of student achievement and cross-campus collaboration. It featured outstanding undergraduate research, compelling service learning presentations, and dynamic displays of both visual and performing arts. The event truly captured the creativity, innovation, and academic excellence taking place across our system. We want to thank McNeese State for hosting the Academic Summit Planning Committee for their hard work and dedication. Their efforts were instrumental in bringing the event to life and ensuring its success. Recently, we undertook an effort to find out what the current economic impact of our system is on the state of Louisiana, as well as tracking our alumni, our graduates, where they're going. We launched this study a few months ago to understand the impact and the employment outcomes. Collectively, our institution's statewide economic impact is $13.6 billion. Now, that's up from our last economic impact study conducted in 2022, which was approximately 11.8. So $13.6 billion economic impact for the state of Louisiana. And I can tell you, whenever I've appeared before our legislative committees, that's the first slide that I show, that we are a good investment, and a return on investment like that is almost unheard of. The data is clear. Higher education changes lives. Pell eligible graduates of our system are earning between $60,000 and $80,000 on average, demonstrating the power of higher education to lift Louisiana families out of poverty in just one generation. And our graduates are staying and serving Louisiana. Quite often we hear about, the brain drain. Our best and brightest are leaving the state, and especially as it relates to top students who receive the scholarship and leave. 75% of our TOPS recipients who graduate from a University of Louisiana system institution remain in the state of Louisiana, contributing their talents to our communities and strengthening our economy. And I would certainly put our results up against any other higher ed system operating in our state. 75% of our top students stay in the state of Louisiana after graduation. With alumni pathways, we can now tell these stories more clearly than ever before. This initiative allows us to track graduate outcomes and understand their journeys after college, where they go, what they do, and how they contribute. This insight also positions us for stronger partnerships. By identifying the top employers hiring our graduates in every academic area, we can build more intentional connections between our universities and the Louisiana workforce, aligning programming, deepening relationships, and strengthening talent to career pipelines across the state. This alumni pathways is about more than just data. It is about unlocking opportunity and building a stronger Louisiana. And I certainly would be remiss if I didn't recognize Dr. Claire Norris for her thought leadership in leading that initiative and helping us gather the data that we can tell the story, not just anecdotally, but having the numbers to support what a great job we're doing. So thank you again, Dr. Norris, for your leadership. I'd like to just mention to board members, we're looking forward to spring commencements. Carol will be sending out the commencement schedules for all of our schools next week. And so I'd like to encourage all of you to attend at least one of our commencement exercises. That's really what it's all about. That's why we do what we do, is to see those students cross the stage and go out and change the world. So I'd like to ask that you all participate as much as and as often as you can. Although he has left, that concludes my report. Dr. Roos, you want to come back up and no, that's okay. Just kidding. That did conclude my report.
All right, well, I'm pinch hitting for the chair, and I'm going to be very brief because it's almost lunchtime and I'm hungry. Some reminders, members, for May 15th, you must file your annual personal financial disclosure if you served in year 2024. And Carol sent that link out to us about a month or so ago, so please try to find that link and submit that information. For other business, we got 2 dates to be mindful of that are upcoming. We've already mentioned May 19th. We'll meet here in Baton Rouge as part of the ULM selection process. So your attendance is important for that. And also on June 26th, I'm happy to say that we're going to host the board member at Southeastern Louisiana University in Hammond. So please join us at that meeting as well. If there's no other business, I ask for a motion to adjourn. Second by any.
We did have I think a couple of other, oh, he did that earlier.
I was going to say, I'm just following the script,
Okay,
President.
I just want to make sure we didn't.
We did the PPM early in the.
Okay,
in the
you
meeting.
got it. All right.
All right. So where's the second to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? All right. We are adjourned, members. We're going to meet in room 190 for lunch and a brief board development.